We have breaking news, and unfortunately, it is not good news. We just have a press release that came out from United States Central Command. It says March 12th, just a few hours ago, United States Central Command is aware of the loss of a U.S. KC-135 refueling aircraft. The incident occurred in friendly airspace during Operation Epic Fury, and rescue efforts are ongoing. 2 aircraft were involved in the incident. One of the aircraft went down in western Iraq, and the second landed safely. This was not due to hostile fire or friendly fire. More information will be made available as the situation develops. We ask for continued patience to gather additional details and provide clarity for the families of service members. I would like to say my thoughts, my prayers go out to those affected. This is absolutely devastating news, and I cannot imagine. It is the worst fear for family members, for friends, for loved ones, knowing that they have the people they love in harm's way. Now, it does say the loss of a U.S. KC-135, and it does say 1 aircraft went down. I'm making the assumption that is referencing the 135 there. The second aircraft landed safely. Not to speculate, but to kind of speculate, because I know people have questions about this. When you hear that, maybe this is some type of mid-air collision. Maybe not, given the details we have in this. However, as we've seen with the fog and friction of war and confusion, maybe the KC-135 had some other issue and it's completely unrelated. It does not mention it here. A process will be initiated after the rescue efforts. Once this is all settled out and they have that situation contained, the Air Force will go into a safety investigation mode to try and determine the cause of that. That information is privileged. Think of it like attorney-client privilege. Those outside of this realm will never learn about it. The Air Force then goes into an accident investigation mode, and that's where they figure out, again, through a process that runs very similar to a safety investigation, what transpired. That information gets released to the public 6 months, 12 months, 18 months down the road. So we're a ways away from actually knowing what transpired here. Again, when you read this, you might assume that this was some type of mid-air collision, but also, like say, there's potential it was not. Now, the Air Force flies KC-135 by the active component as well as the reserve and guard component. So you have a mix of active duty, reserve, and guard component that are most likely involved in KC-135 operations with Operation Epic Fury. That is very normal. The KC-135 is our oldest refueler in the Air Force. I mean, this thing has been around. It was designed during the Cold War days, and they put a lot of hours on these planes. Designed off the Boeing 707 airframe, this thing has been around since the 1950s. The intention here is to eventually replace, or at a minimum augment, the KC-135 fleet with KC-46s, which is a 767. However, that has had a lot of issues getting to that point. Nonetheless, they'll remain in service until 2040. So these airframes will be nearly 100 years old by the time it's all said and done. Now, the last 135 that we lost, at least I'm aware of, was actually May of 2013. And when I say lost, that's in support during combat operations. And that was over Kyrgyzstan. That was a flight control issue. And that one, again, unfortunately resulted in the loss of the entire crew. The release does say Western Iraq. This is a very busy airspace, I would imagine. I refueled many times over Western Iraq, but we just think about the laydown of fighter and bombers from what we know in open source. Heavy present in the Mediterranean, Jordan, even in Europe, and kind of flowing through that Jordanian gateway or in and around that region, potentially into Iran and surrounding countries. So a lot of activity is happening, most likely over where this occurred. Again, we don't know much other than the fact that a 135 has gone down. We can hope and pray for the best here. My thoughts and prayers are absolutely with the family members who are affected. Again, this is worst case scenario that they're living out there. So I'll let you know if I learn more.